Welcome to Prescribing Lifestyle, the podcast that's all about empowering you to live your healthiest, happiest life. I'm your host, Dr. Avi Charlton, and each week we'll dive into the latest research, practical tips, and inspiring stories to help you optimize your well-being. From nutrition and fitness to mental health and mindfulness, we'll explore every aspect of lifestyle medicine, giving you the tools you need to make informed decisions and take control of your health. Whether you're looking into preventing disease, managing chronic conditions, or simply elevate your quality of life, Prescribing Lifestyle is here to guide you on your journey to wellness. So, sit back, relax, and get ready to embark on this transformative adventure towards a healthier, happier you. Let's dive in.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Prescribing Lifestyle Podcast. Today, I have invited a very special lady called Fay Chan. She is into EFT tapping. So you might ask about what EFT tapping is. I might get Fay to introduce herself and explain what EFT tapping is. Welcome to the podcast, Fay.
Thank you so much for having me here. I love talking about tapping and EFT, and it's not FPOS, right? when I told people early on that I do EFT, they look at me blankly and go, "What do you mean?" It's like, no, it's known as tapping. Yeah.
Okay.
So EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques.
Okay, yeah.
Right? So it's really to get freedom from your emotions, because we actually feel our emotions physically. Because when you have a fight with your husband, or you're agitated with a customer, or someone cutting you off on the road, or your children really drive you nuts, there's a physical sensation that comes with the feeling. Right? Because emotions are actually physical.
Yeah.
And it's familiar, and it resonates in the same spot, especially with the same sort of issues. You're going, how do I shake this off?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's very hard to regulate emotion nowadays. There's so many things going on. Everyone's rushing around.
Yeah.
So tell us what's EFT tapping? What do you do?
So it's a mix between Eastern modality of acupressure points, meridian points, and Western modality of psychology based on cognitive behavioral therapy and exposure therapy. Now, this is not mumbo jumbo. It's not woo-woo and a belief system. It's actually scientifically evidence-based. There's like 300 plus clinical trials done on clinical EFT, and therefore that's why you can say clinical EFT, because it's been randomized controlled trials on it and meta-analysis on it. So when we're tapping on the specific meridian points, the acupressure points, instead of using needles like in acupuncture, we're using our fingertips to pulse on those points. So therefore tap. Tapping. Yeah. And when we activate past these points, the electrical signals still get sent down the primary vascular system, right, by the collagen to the brain, the electrical signal, and helps calms the amygdala, right? And in Chinese medicine, it's to unblock your qi, right? So it literally increases the energy flow in your system. So that's the physical part of the Eastern side of the modality, the acupressure points, right?
Yeah.
Now, the Western side is to bring it up through speaking and talking and acknowledging and accepting. Because the fundamental, teaching inside EFT is actually acceptance of what is and what isn't. So whenever we begin tapping, we're always present what's coming up for us in the more negative context, right? Because people go, no, I just want to tap on the affirmative. I just want to do positive thinking, right?
Yep.
And positive thinking on top of a mound of mud and crap is not positive thinking. You're still not acknowledging the mound of mud and crap that's there, right? And tapping gets to the mound of mud and crap because that's exactly where the emotion's stuck in your body. That's the mud and crap, the mound of it, right? That's actually in your body in the same place all the time, right? So we do tapping to acknowledge it, and it'll sound like this when I show you how to tap. It'll go like this. Even though I get really angry with this one particular person, and I react in the same way, and even talking about it right now, I feel it in my solar plexus. It's a tense 8 out of 10. I don't know why it's there. I love, support, and accept myself.
Okay.
Right? But you bring it up, and then it's a psychological reversal setup statement that we use, and then we appease it with the affirmative. But we have to acknowledge it first.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
Bring it up, trigger it, and then the tapping harms it at the same time.
Wow.
So it's part of a rewiring, unhooking transformational process.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess it's very similar to mindfulness, do you think?
Not really. It's mindful because you gotta think about it and put your mind to it. Yeah.
Yep.
But because tapping taps into your subconscious and your body, so it's your subconscious mind, and then it feeds it through to your conscious cognitive mind for processing. Right? Yep. Whereas we do life through processing all the time, like the thinking brain, the calculator, the captain of the ship over here, the languaging part of the brain, right?
Yeah.
But when we're triggered and activated, our subconscious and the limbic systems and the sympathetic system completely overtake and hijack our thinking brain. And then we're running around like a chicken without its head on. And we're going, how do I control this? How do I regulate myself? When you're completely hijacked, when you actually can't in those moments.
Yeah.
So what tapping does is we're finding out how come you are the way you are through the source memory.
So we're getting into the deep subconscious memory
100%,
part.
100%. 100%.
Right.
So we deal a lot in anxiety, stress, and trauma.
Great. Oh, wow. Okay. Amazing. So how did you get into this? I think we had some common connection and you're pretty much similar age to me.
Yes.
We did Melbourne University.
Yeah.
We didn't know each other, but yeah.
Yep.
So how did you get
I got into
tapping?
it, I knew tapping was along the way of me already being in personal development. So I got to know the person who trained me in tapping when I was working in a personal development company. Now, it's not normal for an Asian having this sort of background, the private girls' school background, the university background, a double degree with that, and I've got the normal corporate job and the normal corporate boyfriend and all that stuff, right?
Okay.
For me to be in personal development and not in corporate anymore. So the wake-up moment was when I was still in my late 20s and in my corporate career, I was still dotting the I's, crossing the T's, doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing. But I found that I really lacked passion and lacked drive, and every single Christmas drinks would complain to my colleagues about getting a bigger, better job the next year, but still in the same position complaining to my colleagues the next Christmas drinks, right? And getting a bigger, better paying job didn't mean that it will be any different. It's just a bigger, better paying job, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And so I was in the throes of this cycle that was this trajectory that I was on as an Asian, the Asian, ABC, as they call us. And I wasn't happy. I wasn't fulfilled.
Okay.
Just had no purpose. And then I found a personal development course called the Landmark Forum,
Mm.
and that turned my life inside out.
Okay.
And so it gave me, through the course, I found the courage within myself to go, actually, this isn't it. I don't know what is, but this isn't it.
Okay.
Right. And so I quit.
Wow. That
Yeah.
must take some courage to go from
Yeah.
corporate to another totally different career.
Yeah. And I didn't know what career I might even go to. I had no job to go to. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought it was around about the advertising, the agency work, but it wasn't that. And then I went into a bit of HR and a bit of recruitment, and I liked it a little bit, but still wasn't that. Um, and then I found the personal development, because
Mm.
by then I was still doing a lot of courses in
Mhm.
personal development, and then I ended up working in it,
Wow.
right? But
Okay.
it took the guts to leave my job. It took
Yeah.
resigning, because one more day over here in this trajectory
Yeah.
would just mean that I continue this trajectory,
Mm.
right? I have to hop off that trajectory,
Amazing. That's
right?
awesome. Yeah.
To begin a different trajectory,
Mm-hmm.
even if I have to start from ground zero,
Mm.
right? Because to this day, I haven't used my degree at all, really. I mean, but yeah, I haven't used my degree at all. But it's given me, I guess, the precursor to who I am now. And that was 20 years ago. So I've
All
found my
right.
purpose now. Like, I'm
Okay.
clear, this is my purpose. Very clear.
You seem very passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah, extremely. Extremely.
Yeah.
So I've took me 20 plus years to come here, to get here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then what happened? You found your way into wellness, and then how come tapping resonated with you?
I knew about tapping 15 years ago, and it wasn't until about 6 or 7 years ago that I was at that time working as a budgeting consultant for
Mm-hmm.
myself, and I helped families find black holes in their budgets. Given I'm Asian, I've been saving since I was little. I know how to teach people how to save, as
Mm.
well as with the personal development background, I could coach people through things. But I found it um, really hard to get clients because of the mindset and the grip that the money conversation is for a lot of people.
Mm.
Yeah. And so when I was thinking about how do I hop, skip, and jump from the strategic pipeline across to the emotional pipeline, because I'm good at the emotional pipeline. I've worked in
Mm.
personal development. EFT jumped out at me because I already knew about EFT. But I thought, hang on, I can do that too, and actually use it as the emotional pipeline to access clients and help clients and contribute and make a difference that way. And so that was back in 2018. Um, Rang the friend that I knew. She was still on my phone going, when's your next course? And I turned
Yeah.
up to the next course, and then certified. And then I've been tapping since. And then 2 years ago, I joined the education cohort for EFT Universe, where I certified. And I'm
Okay.
now a mentor for certifying students as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So you run EFT courses and you teach EFT provide practitioners. Is that what
Yeah,
you
so
do?
I don't
Yeah.
run them, but I'm a mentor for EFT Universe.
Sure.
And so I get handed mentees, and
Okay.
through the certification process, you have to hand in 40 case studies,
Oh, wow.
testing different trauma techniques and other techniques, and I help them correct. I see them through the 40 cases and correct them for them, for the
Wow.
students, right? For the mentees.
Yep,
So
yep.
that's I guess an educational role I play, as well as I do my own EFT tapping with my clients.
Mm.
Yeah,
So who can benefit from EFT tapping? What sort of clients are most suitable for this?
anyone,
Okay.
anyone. So I've worked with the youngest, which is 4 years old,
Okay.
through to adults, through to even teens. If you can get teenagers in front of me, I'll work with them as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Yeah, anyone. So I've worked with children with separation anxiety, school anxiety, bullying, sleeping as well, sleep issues, trying to unhook YouTube videos from their head because it replays in their head and keeps them from sleeping at 3 a.m. in the morning. So I've done those sort of things as well because the subconscious doesn't know what's real or unreal, especially when you're under 7,
Okay.
right? Can't distinguish real and unreal.
Mm.
So, they might think that Huggy Wuggy, which is his character, is going to come in and hurt them at 3 a.m. in the morning because the brain's concocted that,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And they can't sleep. So I've helped little kids rewire that,
Amazing.
right? And then with teenagers, it could be, a lot of self-confidence, self-worth issues, bullying, being left out, understanding where they are, where they want to go. So anything that's emotional there, a lot with teenagers.
Yeah.
And then with adults, it could be anything. It could be burnt out at work. It could be perimenopause and menopausal symptoms that, it's the experience of it that's actually driving themselves crazy. It's not the physical symptoms
Mm.
that, that's actually coming up for them.
Yeah.
I've worked with emotional eating, like chocolate addictions and chocolate
Okay.
cravings,
Oh,
drinking, right? Emotional
wow.
drinking,
Yeah.
right? I've tapped with people on emotional spending,
Mm.
right? I've tapped with people on death and grief. Older parents are dying, and it's bringing up stuff for them. I've tapped with new mothers that get triggered because their own childhood trauma is coming up for them to deal with when their children are coming up of that same age,
Amazing.
right?
So
So
let's say
all
I
sorts of
come to
stuff.
you and I have some food addiction issues because a lot
Yep,
of my patients are addicted to sweets and then they
yep,
know all the low carb value, they know what to do, but they just can't control themselves because they're craving for sweets and they're craving for carbohydrates, they can't get off
yep,
the bread.
yep.
What sort of program would you do for them? How would you approach them?
One-on-one tapping
Okay,
has to be customized,
all right.
right? So I'll share with you what happened with one of my clients.
Yeah.
So she works in the health industry,
Mm.
and um, she timed it. She would hoover a family pack of Cadbury Dairy Milk, and it has to be Cadbury Dairy Milk, right? Takes her 4 minutes to drive home from Woolies to home. She can finish a whole packet in the 4 minutes.
Oh my God.
She's timed herself, right? And then she maintains her packets, her empty packets, to remind herself to guilt herself.
Mm.
She works in the health industry,
Oh
right?
dear.
And so I've got clients that go, I know this isn't healthy for me. Like, you don't even need to work in health to know you
Yeah,
can't just move out a whole pack of chocolate, right?
exactly.
It's like, but I can't help it. The hand goes there, another line, and then
Yeah,
boom, it goes in.
yeah.
And so when we're tapping, I'm actually looking at how it activates in your body. So we're looking at the different aspects. We're looking at when you see the purple of the Cadbury Dairy Milk, what happens? When you smell it, what happens? When you taste it, what happens? When you touch it, what happens? When you hear the foil being peeled back, what happens? So I'm getting all these trigger points and I'm putting it down, and we're using tapping to access your memories as to how come. So I had another client that came to me about chocolate, and what happened was a year 11 memory came up when she was doing BCE, her year 11, 12 certificate, and she goes, Mum, I remember Mum buying me a whole packet of Cadbury Dairy Milk, and that's not a normal snack for us. I thought it was really nice of her to do that because I was studying for my exams. And I said, okay, great. So this is through a process of tapping that would get to this memory. And I go, all right, how did you feel then? Oh, really supported, appreciated, and loved, because that's not normal for us. And then we keep tapping. She goes, but then I wasn't really addicted to chocolate in that time frame, like in my 20s and my 30s. I don't understand why. So we keep tapping and keep inquiring. And literally she stops in her tracks and she goes, oh, I was only addicted after Mum died. I'm like, right, let's see about this. Now, all this is works below the surface of the iceberg. Like you come to me and you go, I'm addicted to chocolate. I can't help it. I eat it in 4 minutes. I hoover the packets. This is how much chocolate I have a week. That's the 10% of the iceberg above the water.
Yeah.
My work deals with the 90% of the iceberg underneath the water. And so all this is happening whilst we're tapping and she's going, oh, the memory's coming up and this is coming up. And actually I wasn't addicted, until Mum died. I'm like, great. All right, let's look into that. So the more we delved into her mum's death and what chocolate meant for her, she's actually embedded love, appreciation and support into Cadbury Dairy Milk.
Oh, wow.
And that got anchored into the body. So every single time she's stressed or upset and needs and misses Mum and wants love, appreciation and support, what comes up? Cadbury Dairy Milk. It's embedded in Cadbury Dairy Milk and she's craving the emotion of it.
Okay.
And that's why the system's hijacked. There's no amount of thinking and discipline in your cognitive brain that can defeat your subconscious super brain. You can't.
Yeah.
And so she's ingesting support, love, and appreciation.
Yeah.
Right, whenever she's stressed.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. That's
right. And so my job was to unhook that.
How would you do that?
Tapping.
Okay.
Yeah, right. You have to be in the session itself for me to rewire it for you. Because I'm scripting it for you and I'm holding the space for you. You're consciously going through your own healing, participating in your own healing with me. Right? Now, we got to that memory. She had no idea that was what was going on.
Okay.
Right? She had no idea it was like she goes, oh yeah, I just addicted to chocolate. I love my chocolate. I don't want to give it up. But it's not about that. It's about restoring the power back to you. Because if we didn't unhook that, every single time she's stressed, stress wins. Absolutely. And it will have you go to Coles or Woolies, especially if the yellow docket's there as a special. You'll buy 2 or 3 thingies, right?
Yes, that's right.
Right? And then you're at home, you're like, I'm feeling I've had a big day, stressful clients, whatever it is, and off you go, and you will finish 3-4 lines of the chocolate, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you unhook it.
Wow, that is amazing. That is amazing. Yeah, we talked about earlier that you're going to show me how we tap at the end of this episode. So we're going to demonstrate. I'll get you to show me how tapping goes as a demonstration.
Yeah, we'll love to.
Yeah, but before we get into that, just tell us again what you do. So you do one-on-one and you do some workshops and you do some kids and what do you offer?
Yeah. So I offer, my main offering is one-on-one tapping. I love it. That's where the rubber hits the road. I do one-on-one tapping with children after school.
Yep.
I do one-on-one tapping with teenagers after school as well, unless they're not at school or homeschooling, right? Or doing distance ed. And then I'll tap with adults.
How many sessions do they need? Or can you tell or you can't tell?
I can't tell because anxiety isn't linear.
Okay.
However, I would say with something that's deep-seated, over time with my clients, they've needed anywhere between 7 to 10 sessions. And from there, it's permanent. It's permanent. It's permanent as in, I've got the power over chocolate now. Chocolate doesn't have the power over me. So I get to say when I want to have chocolate, not when the chocolate says I've got to have it. That's what the permanency looks like. It
Okay.
means the power is restored back to you.
Yeah. So you stop being addicted to chocolate.
Correct.
Great. All right. And how often would you see these people?
I usually start with them weekly or fortnightly.
Yeah.
Yep, consistently,
Yeah.
because then I'm capitalizing and building on what we're working on. Because
Hmm.
sometimes if you give it too much room in between sessions,
Yeah.
it's returned, right?
And
And
the
I
chocolate will
haven't,
come back.
yeah, and then I have to, yeah, because those brain patterns are survival mechanisms. It knows how to survive really well. Like
Yeah.
it's had decades of experience in
Yes.
survival,
Yes.
right? And so I need to do the work. I can't undo it, but I have to find the source memory as such to do the uninstallation. That's the
Mm.
rewiring.
Uninstallation. Wow.
Yeah.
It's
It's
like,
like a computer virus, right? I can't
yes.
defeat the computer virus and then chip it away, chip it away, chip it away. That's what I'm doing though. I'm still coming down to it, but I want to find the original memory. I need to find it. Because
Sure.
if that's the early event that's there, that's
Hmm.
actually anchored,
Hmm.
that the trauma wound has actually embedded that way, then I
Yeah.
need to know what the trauma is and how come it's there and what memory it is.
Wow. That's amazing. That's
Right.
amazing.
So that's how I can do the uninstallation.
Mm.
You still remember it. It's just that the uninstallation is peeling away the emotional angst
Yeah.
from the memory itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. And you can do this face to face or Zoom?
100% on Zoom.
Okay. So you'll be all over Australia, all over the world. Is that who
Yep.
you?
Yeah. I've got clients in Manila, in New Zealand, as well as Perth, Queensland, sunny coast, and in Melbourne. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Um, can you recommend any resources or books or programs that a beginner can get in?
hmm There is plenty of resource on YouTube on
Okay.
how to actually tap for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, there is an app called the Tapping Solution app. It's not
Okay.
tapping per se, but it's like tapping to meditative meditations, right? It's not clinical EFT that they do.
Yeah.
Um, and in terms of resources, there's books by Dr. Peter Stapleton, P-E-T-A, Stapleton. She's a professor at Bond University. She's a clinical psychologist. However, her research is all on EFT tapping. So
Okay.
if you follow her for her, it's all about the science behind tapping.
Great. All right.
Yep,
I'll search it up and then I'll put it in the show notes.
sure.
Amazing. All right. So shall we get into a practical demonstration of you showing our listeners or showing me how you tap?
Sure. What would you like to work on? Give me a topic that's specific for you. Like it'll be general, so it won't be specific, as in like nothing personal, but a topic for you, so you can relate to it.
Sure. I am addicted to nuts.
Uh huh.
So every day when I come back from work, before I cook dinner, I am tired and I get into my nuts, and sometimes it's macadamia nuts, cashew nuts, and I know I'm addicted. Sometimes I can hold myself and I don't eat it, but sometimes when I get started and I think I have a little bit, but then I end up having heaps, and then I don't have an appetite for dinner anymore.
I got it. Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay. Right. As macadamias, cashews. Anything else?
That's
Peanuts?
mostly it. Yeah.
Mostly
Yep.
macadamias and cashews.
Yeah, so I know they're low carb and they're not too bad in small amounts,
Yeah.
and the aim is small amounts, but it ends up too much.
Right. Okay. Got it. Cool. Do you like the crunchiness? What do you
Yeah,
like about it?
the crunch and the saltiness.
Uh-huh. Okay. All right. The crunchiness and the saltiness. All right. And tell me about how it looks to you when you see, the macadamias or when you see the cashews.
They look like they look great, and I know they're not too bad for me. They're still real food and they're low carb. And I try to stop after a little bit.
Right. Okay. Cool. All right. So you just follow me.
Okay.
So as you're talking about nuts right now, are you salivating? What are the physical sensations in your body?
Yeah, I feel like I want to have a bit.
Yeah. Is there any other pull from anywhere in your body?
No?
You just feel like you want a bit.
Yeah.
Where do you feel that? Do you feel that in your mouth? Do you feel that in your chest? Where do you feel it?
I feel the saltiness and the crunchiness in the mouth.
Got it. Yeah. Uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
think it's about the saltiness and the crunch,
Yeah. I
maybe.
got it. And then with the wanting of it right now,
Yeah,
what score would you give it? 10 out of 10 would mean you'll be like, oh, gotta have some afterwards. And 0 out of 10 is don't need it at all. What scale would you give it out of 10?
at the moment, maybe a 5.
5.
It's not
Okay.
quite late in the afternoon yet. It's about
Oh,
2
there's
o'clock
always a
in
time
the
associated.
PM, yes.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, often the time association comes with emotional drinking as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
got it. So you just follow and speak, repeat after me.
Sure.
Yeah. Even though I'm addicted to nuts,
Even though I'm addicted to nuts,
especially macadamias and cashew,
especially macadamias and cashews,
I love, support, and accept myself.
I love and support and accept myself.
And so we're tapping, for the listeners, we're tapping on the side of the hand for the karate chop point, and it's underneath the pinky finger on the soft part on the side. And it doesn't matter which side of the hand that you're tapping on, symmetrically, we're the same in terms of the meridian points of both sides of the body. So we always start here, and this is what we call the setup statement, which is what I'm
Okay.
doing with you right now.
Yep.
Okay, even though I really crave the nuts,
Even though I really crave the nuts,
it's especially after work,
especially after work,
just before I cook dinner.
just before I cook dinner,
I acknowledge this.
I acknowledge this.
I'm still okay and I'm still all right.
I'm still okay and I'm still all right.
Even though it's the saltiness and the crunchiness.
Even though it's a saltiness and crunchiness,
It's really moreish.
it's really moreish.
And I end up having so much I forget about dinner.
I end up having so much that I forget about having dinner.
No wonder it's a 5 out of 10 right now.
It's only 5 out of 10 right now.
I send myself compassion and support.
I send myself compassion and support.
I tell myself it's low carb.
I tell myself it's low carb,
And then on the inner eyebrow, that it's real food.
that it's real food,
On the side. And a handful of nuts is good for me.
and a handful of nuts is good for me.
And that's on the side of the eye.
Tapping on the side of the eye. Yep.
Yep. And the next point is under the eye, on the bone, under the pupil.
Okay, under the pupil.
Yep. But I just love these nuts.
But I just love these nuts.
Under the nose. I always have it after work, but before dinner.
I always have it after work, but before dinner.
And then under the chin, on the crease. But I love the crunchiness and the saltiness.
But I love the crunchiness and the saltiness.
And collarbone point. So on the collarbone, just underneath it. And I just can't stop.
I just can't stop.
Underarm point is 10 centimeters under your underarm on the side. That's the underarm point.
Okay, tapping on the underarm point.
And I have heaps of it.
And I have heaps of it.
And the top of the head again. I try to stop.
I try to stop.
But this craving overtakes me.
But this craving overtakes me.
And I just can't stop.
And I just can't stop.
Before I know it.
Before I know it.
It's dinner time.
It's dinner time.
And I have no appetite for dinner.
And I have no appetite for dinner.
I've overdone the nuts.
I've overdone the nuts.
And I do this nearly every single day.
I do this every single day,
And I don't know why.
and I don't know why.
What is it about the crunchiness and saltiness
What is it about the crunchiness and the saltiness
that comes up for me?
that comes up for me?
Why do I crave that?
Why do I crave that?
I know I justify it.
I know I justify it,
It's still real food and low carb,
that it's still real food and low carb,
but really it doesn't work for me.
but really it doesn't work for me.
But there's something about nuts,
There's something about nuts,
that saltiness.
that saltiness.
It draws me in.
It draws me in.
It's a 5 out of 10.
It's a 5 out of 10.
Always associated with after work.
Always associated with after work.
So I wonder how come.
I wonder how come.
I wonder what's familiar about this.
I wonder what's familiar about this.
I wonder if my body will tell me,
I wonder if my body will tell me,
or my subconscious can.
or my subconscious can.
Maybe there's a memory anchored underneath.
Maybe there's a memory anchored underneath.
I wonder what's coming up for me.
I wonder what's coming up for me.
So come back to this tapping point. So I won't go into it here with you, but usually at this point, I would stop the client and go, what's coming up for you? What memory is coming up for you? How's that pool that's 5 out of 10? Has it gone up or has it come down? And even as you were doing it in the last 2-3 minutes with me then, you might be firing off images. You might be seeing things. You might be seeing the nuts, but at a different scenario. Like, has something like that come up for you already?
I'm not wanting it as much now.
Good. So the pool is not 5 out of 10. What is it out of 10?
I think it's about 2 or 3 out of 10.
Okay, perfect. So it's come down already.
Yeah. Maybe the more I talk about it, the more I feel like I don't need it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's discharging, which is good.
Yep.
Right? Because all we're doing is talking about the nuts, the crunchy and the saltiness,
Yes.
and the justification you give yourself, but what
Yes.
actually happens.
Yes.
Right? And all those makes up an aspect, the different side of the jigsaw piece or the different side of the facet of the diamond of the issue.
Yes.
So when you look at the issue, it's just not nuts. There's different like facets of it.
Yes.
Right? And so
Yeah.
the crunchy and saltiness is one, the pull is another, the time frame is another.
Yes.
Right, the type of nuts is another, because I can put walnuts in front of you. You might go, oh, I'll just have 3 days.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, but there's something specific about macadamias and cashews.
Yes.
Now, it might come down to a two or three here right now.
Yes.
But then my intention, if you were working one-on-one with me, is to get to how come it's specific to macadamias and cashews. What happened? Who else did you see eat it? What does it remind you of? All that stuff. And then your body will just give you a memory. And inside that memory is what's hooked up to cashews and macadamias.
Wow.
Now, it may not even be macadamias and cashews. It might be something that's crunchy from your past.
Yeah,
it might be some Chinese snack that you got from the shops.
Yeah.
Your mum or your grandma made or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
That the crunch reminds you of it, but it's now embedded in macadamias and cashews.
Yeah.
Right? So I still don't know what it is, and I won't be able to in 10 minutes.
Yes, of course.
Right?
Yes.
But that's how tapping works.
That's amazing. I think just facing the issue and talking about it and bringing it up and acknowledging it, all
that's
that
the beauty.
helps as well.
That's the beauty of tapping, and especially when you're saying it to somebody and tapping at the same time. That's why tapping with a practitioner really works to unhook, because if you were to even tap to yourself saying that, you're just saying it to yourself. You can lie to yourself really well.
That's right.
Right? Let yourself off the hook really well. Right?
Yeah.
But when you say it to a different person, especially a practitioner that's holding space and I'm listening for something that's different, then it really gets to the issue very quickly.
Yeah. And I think just facing the issue, facing it head on, and with you being really non-judgmental at all, not telling me off and not telling me, why do you have to do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That is the main thing.
Yeah, it really is. And also giving yourself the permission to actualize it and to say it.
Yeah.
Right? It's not a normal conversation. People don't go, even though I have crunchy nuts and I can't stop and it's a 5 out of 10. And I don't feel like having, I don't have appetite for dinner. Like, you don't even have to say that in the conversation.
Yes.
So inside a tapping session, the conversation's very different. It's very deep, very quickly. Right. That's why I get so much fulfillment out of it.
Great. That's amazing. I think a lot of my listeners might benefit from all this.
Yeah, especially the ones that you go, try not to have too much chocolate, try not to have too much alcohol, try not to have too much blah, 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 blah. It's a hook.
Yeah.
So that's deeply anchored in the subconscious. It's discipline cannot defeat it. It's too hard.
Well, it's easy for me to say, don't eat this, don't eat that, but the patients just can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, if they're interested, I'm happy to tap with them. Yeah.
Absolutely. Where can my listeners find you, Faye?
So they can find me on, if you Google me, Living Well with Faye, or Google Fay Chan EFT Tapping.
Yep.
And my Google business profile comes up. My Facebook page, Living Well with Faye, will come up, or my Instagram page, Living Well with Faye, will come up as well. So you can just get in touch with me through any of those mediums as such.
Yep. Great. Now I'll put all the links into the show notes.
Yes. Great.
That's amazing. Have you got one last takeaway from my listeners that you want listeners to take away from this?
Yeah, that for them, instead of making themselves wrong, especially if it's a habit that they're trying to move, that see it from the perspective that it's a coping mechanism. And it's a coping mechanism that's got really strong survival. And it's a coping mechanism that they've developed because they need to keep themselves safe.
Yeah.
So it's not their fault. It's just an embedded reaction to a circumstance that they needed to cope.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's awesome, Faye. I love your message, and I hope some of my listeners will reach out to you to have an extra tool on how they can manage their emotions.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you for having me on.
Well, thank you for your time for coming on to the Prescribing Lifestyle podcast.
Thanks, Avi.
Well, thank you all the listeners for staying tuned. Until next time, we'll bring to you another amazing guest to give you some extra tools, extra tips on how you can use lifestyle to manage your health. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Prescribing Lifestyle Podcast. Before we wrap up, I have an exciting news to share. I have a new ebook called Low Carb Made Easy. It's now available. This guide is perfect for anyone looking to dive into the low carb lifestyle. Inside, you'll find the basic theory behind low carb eating, a detailed food list, practical meal plan, and a variety of delicious recipes. It's designed to make a journey to better health easier, simpler, and enjoyable. For those who prefer a hard copy, head over to my website and register your interest using the link provided. My website is www.mlcclinic.com.au. Head to online store. Remember, the information shared in this podcast, it's for educational purposes only and not proper medical advice. Always consult your medical professional before making any changes to your lifestyle and diet, or you can come and see me in Melbourne Low Carb Clinic. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected with us on social media. Your feedback will help us improve and reach more listeners. Lastly, if you found this episode helpful, please share it with your friends and family. Together, we can make a positive impact to our health and our communities. Thanks again for listening, and as always, stay healthy and happy. Until next time.